Hi everyone. Week 2 is all about personal values, power, and social responsibility. Again, all under the umbrella of applied ethics. So some of the big ideas that we'll explore here in this module are this idea of finding alignment, personal values versus ethical leadership. So you'll even revisit some of the personal values that you identified way back early in the program in 801, some of the personal values that you pulled into your leadership statement. We'll now think about those values in terms of ethics and ethical leadership. So some of this will feel like a little bit familiar, maybe a little bit deja vu, but you have done so much in your program since 801 and continue to pull in threads of ethics, equity, and social justice all along the way. And so we'll use this assignment in this module, or some of these ideas and some of the reading in this module, to kind of just reaffirm and kind of like reintegrate, always kind of coming back to that. And I also like to think that, good leaders, we don't just figure out what our personal values are and submit a discussion form on them or write a paper about them and then that's it, right? Like these are things that we're often constantly reevaluating or constantly revisiting. The values that I had as a leader 10 years ago professionally are very different than the values that I have now, 10 years later, after having a lot of experience in the field and a lot of work and making mistakes and learning from them, or having some relationships that are really powerful and really strong and transformative with colleagues, organizational colleagues, and relationships that were not that. I've kind of learned, I hope we have all learned along the way, both in our own profession and throughout this program. So we will kind of take a pause and check and see, let me check in with these personal values that I identified. Are they still the same? Or do I know them a little bit more now? Are they a little bit more refined? We'll talk about types of power, and this will come from some of the reading, this idea of personal power versus positional power, and thinking of them through those two different layers and through different variants. We'll get into that with the reading. And the notion of social responsibility, right? All again tied into this idea of leadership and innovation. How are we as leaders and as ethical leaders socially responsible for maintaining a sense of ethics and standards within our organizations and also within ourselves. This is also getting you geared up for, this is scaffolding what's going to come next week in week 3, where week 3 you'll actually analyze your personal values compared to your organizational values, and even documenting or analyzing, are your organizational values actually showing up? This notion of sometimes organizations can have values on paper, but in practice they might look really different. And so we'll take a moment to pause there. So this is kind of, again, prepping you for some of your material in week 3. There's one assigned reading by Nevarez and Wood titled Power and Ethics in Community College Leadership. This reading comes from a community college leadership textbook, but it's very applicable across different frameworks, different organizational contexts, and different fields. So do not let this community college title throw you off. The ideas related to power and ethics and leadership are transferable across a number of scenarios and a number of situations. And I also really, there were a handful of readings when I was looking at this course of choosing from, and I felt like this reading was, we are all understanding, or maybe we all know now, in academia, there's good writing and not good writing. There's some of that academic writing that's just so jargon-based, and trust me, when we dive deep into ethics and some of the writing can be really, really dense, but this writing is not dense. I was also trying to find something that felt enjoyable to read. So I hope you enjoy that reading. Your assignments, 1, discussion on personal values, power, and social responsibility. So you'll pull in some of the values that you had in 801 and even revisit them. Are those still the same, right? And or adjust them, revise them, and build on your assigned reading of the types of power that you'll review, as well as social responsibility. So your discussion assignment, do make sure that you've done the readings and work through all of the lessons before you engage with the discussion. I actually hope I don't have to say that. You should always be engaging with the lessons first before you engage with the discussion. Assignment, your week 2 DIP status update. So you're getting into this rhythm, which means like you are, if anything in page 1 needs to be updated, please update it. You'll see even too, there's like a line for your first chair check-in. Maybe you're meeting with your chair this week. Maybe it's next week. Maybe you've already completed your chair check-in before you submit your status update on Sunday. And then make sure that this is your first time where you will copy and paste your weekly work log and add the newest one on top, adjust the dates, and update your DIP work again. So are you getting your instruments ready? Are you prepping some of your recruitment emails? Are you sending any of those recruitment emails? Again, if you have, only if you have IRB approval and only if you have organizational approval. Are you working on your organizational approval? Because that might mean that you are adjusting some of your documents and some of your things in order to respond to your organization. So that status, even check-ins, like I emailed the person again to get an update on its status, or you received their response and I'm making some edits. So that weekly work log is about anything related to your DIP tasks, not your reading here about applied ethics and power and social responsibility, but specifically the things related to your dissertation. That's what those DIP status updates are for, okay? Yeah, double check to see if you scheduled a chair check-in for this week. If you did, please attend it and be prepared for that. Have your questions ready. Your chair will likely work off of your last DIP status update form, but feel free to send an email with anything else that you may need. And don't forget that DIP module at the end of the module page, that DIP module is there if things need feedback and things need review. That's where you send those things. So don't send it to your chair via email. We're trying to keep everything in Canvas. That's where we submit stuff for feedback and review. All right. Good luck this week.